It started a journey towards wholeness that continues to this day. The pathway led me to study and embrace many wisdom traditions, one of which is Ayurveda. Ayurveda is an ancient tradition. It They use all kinds of things in their practice. They use, believe it or not, cow urine. They use human urine. They use all kinds of herbs. They use manure. It is a system of nature. And so they have tapped into and experienced the different ways, different things that are there can work to heal you. They use ghee, medicated ghee. They use water. They use massage. They use all kinds of things. But I like to tell people about the cow urine.
That's a strange one.
The human urine. Well, you know, they actually started, Chinese medicine has its basis in Ayurveda. When Ayurveda traveled there, you know, and of course now it's a very different system of medicine. The Chinese do a lot of things that are unique to the Chinese culture and the herbs that are there for them. But yeah, so they use all kinds of things. Out in the villages, which are still pretty remote, they have urine tasters to determine who has diabetes in their villages. One of the first things they want to do is examine your feces to see how well you're digesting. I mean, it is an up close and personal kind of system. They don't have the same aversion to bodily fluids and things that we have. They also, in a lot of places, don't have access to the kinds of diagnostic tools that we have. So they had to learn how to do diagnosis through other means. Yeah, and they still do, because a lot of India is still very remote, even though that's changing. I've been an energy healer for 52 years. My grandmother was an energy healer, and you know, the way it started was pulling pain. One day she grabbed my hands and said, "You got the hot hands," and off to work she put me. And it was just this simple. I mean, you would get over an area where there was pain or discomfort or disease, and you would just keep rolling your hand until you could feel it coming up. Then you grabbed it, pulled it out, and sent it away. And it works just like all of the other systems do, because it's about intent and focus. But yeah, so I was reading Edgar Cayce by the time I was 10 years old. So thanks to my grandma, and my mother was big into herbs and natural foods. And so I kind of like just took all of these different traditions from my family and rolled them in to what I do today, which is really cool. My husband pointed that out. Kevin said, you know, you've taken everything from your family and kind of just rolled it into one big ball. And I'm like, yeah, I hope they're up there watching me, and I'm making them very, very happy. And I practice healing through Ayurveda, herbalism, foods, lifestyle changes, yoga, meditation, sound healing, and many other alternative therapies. I'm the co-owner and managing partner of the Health Hut, which is formerly Yoga Lola Studios. We rebranded after COVID and kind of shifted our focus away from yoga, because we were a fully operational yoga studio, still keeping the yoga and the meditation, but moving more towards working with the other modalities that I do, and putting in a crystals store. So we've done that, and we're hoping next year to put in an apothecary with some of the herbal knowledge that I have. All right, so we opened in 2008, and we have been there ever since. So this is a picture of Kevin, myself, and one of the women who trained as a teacher, Denise Cooper, with us a long time ago. And we're in Rishikesh, India, on 2016 retreat. We took 16 wild ass Americans with us. And they were definitely into the monkey business, because there are monkeys all over Rishikesh, and they had a lot of fun with the monkeys. So my background, long ago in a land far away. Not really. We're talking about Fort Devens, Massachusetts. I was in the military. Yeah. So upon leaving the Army, I moved to Houston with a dear friend. Once in Texas, I worked in the corporate world for 32 years. I did all kinds of things. I started out as a legal secretary, then I became a trainer, then I became a technical writer, and then I became a software program manager and worked with some really big 500 Fortune companies, and I would never want to do that again. The stress was unbelievable, but yeah, I did that for a couple of years, and then we opened up our studio, and I began the full-time job of birthing that into existence. We bought a little house that reeked of cigarettes, dog pee, and there were bongs everywhere, and we transformed it into the beautiful wellness center it is today, and that was quite a journey. It was a real journey of transformation, but the minute I walked into that studio, I felt like I had found a portal, and I've never had any reason to change my mind. It's a magical place. All right. Throughout all these many years, we've expanded, contracted, shifted, changed, and grown. We've risen to the many different challenges and hardships we've encountered along the way, some of which include Ike, Harvey, and COVID. We've tightened our belts through multiple economic downturns. Just the two of us, Lola and Kevin, keeping our dream alive, shoulder to shoulder with our faithful students and clients. Our business has become more robust, flexible, and stronger as a result. I mean, we have no corporate funding. It's just he and I. The corporate funding is his bank account when we run out of money, which hasn't happened in a long time. I'm happy to say we're able to break even now, but that took a very long time for us to do. And we'd get going, and something would come along, and we'd be like, okay, are we going to make it through this? And we did. We do. We're still here. My education. I'm a 500-hour yoga certified teacher, and I've had specialized training in meditation in Nisarg and Rishikesh, India. I have a 2-year degree in Ayurveda. I've done internships in an Ayurvedic hospital in Kerala, India. That was a fascinating experience. So when I got there, the doctor came out, and they're a lot different. Their culture is very different than ours. He came out with the stethoscope. He said, you need to put these on. I said, well, why do I need to put on a stethoscope? That way they see you're a doctor and they believe you're a doctor. And I'm like, but I'm not a doctor. I just have a 2-year degree in Ayurveda. And he said, no, here you're a doctor. And I'm like, okay. So I put the stethoscope on, and we went to a lot of different areas where there were homes for men who had no homes to go to. So they were homes for the indigent, and we did some stuff there with them, and then we worked with some of the people coming into the hospital. And a hospital in India is a lot different than a hospital here. So it was a really fascinating experience to have. And I had studied Ayurveda for many years prior to getting the degree. It's like yoga and meditation. If you really get into it, you go down into that hole, and it's a vat that has no end. You just keep going and going and going. The same thing with the spiritual world. I mean, once you open up to what's there and what you can see, it's pretty amazing how deep it can get. I've studied lifestyle medicine certification, which I'm happy to say is beginning to make its presence known in the hospitals. They have rolled it in as a part of treatment, and they're working through hospitals trying to get the word out about how important nutrition is, and that, nutrition is the basis, the beginning for everything that happens in our bodies and in our minds and spirits. It feeds the tissues, it feeds the blood, it feeds the nervous system, and if nutrition is poor, you cannot thrive. You're subpar to what you can be. But anyhow, so the lifestyle medicine is making its way into the hospitals. I took a 120-hour food healing certification course by a man named Jeff Primack. That was a pretty cool course. And I've studied Ayurvedic, Chinese, and Western herbalism. So in October, I'm going to, I think, the first ever really big Ayurvedic conference here in the U.S. It's in Orlando. So I'm looking forward to that. And then in December, Kevin and I are going to an Ayurvedic hospital in Kerala, India, to undergo a full 21-day panchakarma detox process. Yeah.
Well, you're going through it yourself.
Yeah, we've done a 3-day in Rishikesh. We did a 3-day, and that was interesting. They put things in everything and take it out of everything. So a detox is a true detox. You're like, whoo, didn't see that coming.
Wow.
So this one's 21 days?
It's 21 days, a true panchakarma to really to clean the blood, to clean the cells, to reset the tissues. They recommend truly a 30-day one. The 21-day is really the shortest one you can do and really have the job thoroughly done. So that will be an experience. I'll be able to, they have good English language skills. We checked out a lot of different centers. So I'll be able to learn a lot as we're going through the process, because I'll be able to communicate easily with us. So I'm super excited. I have a life coaching certification. I've been practicing astrology and doing natal charts for about 20 years, but I'm doing my finalization by getting a certification in it. I'm in my first year. Multiple certifications in herbals, Reiki, and past life regression, among others. I've authored and published 2 books on health-related topics, and I have a BA in Poli-Sci from U of H and a master's and PhD in comparative religion from the University of Sedona, which is a religious university. There, now we can get on to Ayurveda, thank goodness. All right. So, when diet is wrong, medicine is of no use. When diet is correct, medicine is of no need. So, when you're eating properly to who you are, and the basis of that is your dosha, and to the seasons, you're going to experience much better health. You're going to have a lot fewer issues with health-related things. So Ayurveda's concept of diseases and treatments are different from other systems of medicine, with its wide scope embracing preventative, curative, and positive aspects. It is the holistic healing system that originated in India over 5,000 years ago and is still in practice today. In Ayurveda, many Ayurvedic doctors are also cross-trained in Western medicine. So it's more common for them to be cross-trained than for them to hold just an Ayurvedic certification, although there are doctors that do. Ayurveda is an extremely sophisticated approach to health and wellness and encompasses the body, the mind, and the spirit. Put simply, it's based on the idea you are either in balance, healthy, or out of balance, unhealthy. Using lifestyle changes that include proper diet, sleep, exercise, environment, herbs, massage, and other practices, balance is restored and health is regained and or maintained. So Ayur means science and Veda means life, so the science of life. So benefits, they just go on and on and on and on. But to put it simply, Ayurveda treatments can help reverse major illnesses and diseases and can greatly assist in everyday issues such as migraines, insomnia, nervousness, digestive problems, fertility challenges, bone, joint, tissue disorders, and just about any physical ailment you can think of can be benefited. And one of the interesting things about Ayurveda is it says that it can cure diseases that are thought to be incurable in Western medicine. Parkinson's disease is an example of that. Many cases of Parkinson's, depending on its origin, can be addressed through working with Ayurveda. They have such an intimate knowledge of the nervous system. And their language, when they talk about disease and what's happening in the body, is so radically different than the way the West views what happens. I mean, you can't really parallel the two systems because the ideas of the origination of where the disease comes from is so different. But so I get out on forums where I see people are struggling with Parkinson's and it's advancing, and I always say, I know you've probably never heard of this, but check out the system of Ayurveda, and if you're desperate enough, get on a plane and go to India and see what they can do for you there, because they can't do much of anything for you here. But they have a much different perspective, just like the traditional Chinese medicine has a much different perspective of the origin and treatment of disease. Medicines consist of herbal preparations made from recipes that are sometimes 5,000 years in use. As a result, side effects are minimized. Our next slide will introduce the different branches and practices of Ayurveda. When you're working with Ayurveda, it's very important to make sure that you know where you're getting your herbals from, because some of the things that come from China and come from India are not processed properly and can contain metals and things like that that are dangerous. But there are a lot of, like Banyan Botanicals, for example. They are a US-based company with US-based employees. They know all the growers of all the herbs, where they go to get them. They're a wonderful resource if you're looking at, learning a little bit about Ayurveda on your own. And I trust their content and I trust their herbals, and I don't get any money for saying that, just so you know. And then there's another practitioner. His name is Dr. John Douillard. He is also an American. He's been doing Ayurveda for years and years and years and years, and he has a lot of wonderful products as well. Of course, it would be best to get a consultation and kind of discover what you need first, but we're Americans. We try it. If it doesn't kill us, we just keep going, right? But it's always good to get a consultation first. If you need one, you know where I am. All right. So a lot of people don't realize how sophisticated Ayurveda is. They had the first surgeons way back there. They have records of doing rhinoplasty, things on the nose, C-sections, just millennia before it was ever introduced in Europe and the US. And in fact, Europe and the Greeks and the Romans took a lot of what they know from Ayurvedic physicians. India had a golden age that I think has been unparalleled in history. I mean, the Greeks and the Romans got close, but they took a lot of stuff from India, and the golden age of India was so bright. But they have internal medicines, they have pediatrics, they have psychology, they have ear, nose, and throat, they have surgery, they have toxicology, they have geriatrics and rejuvenation, which is a part of what Kevin and I we're not quite geriatric yet, but we could stand some rejuvenation, right? So we'll be working with some of those systems as well when we're there in December. And they have aphrodisiac therapy. So internal medicine, it deals with the treatment of general ailments like fever, diarrhea, cough, skin disorders, lung diseases, and bone disorders. Pediatrics, of course, OB/GYN, infant and childhood, health and treatment of disorders and diseases of mothers and children. Psychology, diseases of the mind. And in both Chinese medicine and Ayurvedic medicine, a lot of times they treat disorders of the mind as a disorder of the body, that its origin is in the body. And if you straighten out the issues in the body, the mind follows. It's a much different way of looking at mental health. Ear, nose, and throat deals with conditions of the eyes, ears, nose, lips, brain, central nervous system, skull, and throat. The scope includes ophthalmology,
Otology.
thank you, otology,
Rhinology,
keep going.
dentistry, and laryngology, and craniology.
Thank you.
I used to work in the ENT office. I know all those words.
Thank you, Sarah. I was looking at, and you'll notice I am not pronouncing the Sanskrit word for it. I have it up there for your viewing pleasure only. So surgery details 300 plus preoperative, postoperative, and general surgical procedures, energy points, they call them marmas in Ayurveda, and anesthesia procedures along with the right type of instruments to use. Toxicology deals with the treatment of any kind of poison, whether man-made, environmental, through water or food, or venomous creatures. And they have a lot of venomous creatures in India. Yeah, they know all about that. So geriatrics and rejuvenation deals with diseases related to aging as well as maintaining or restoring youthfulness in older people. So one of the things, according to Ayurveda, that happens as we get older as a result of wrong diet, wrong sleep, wrong lifestyle, is we build up something called ama. And ama would be similar to the idea of cholesterol, although it's not. It's a sticky substance, and it can invade everywhere. I mean, if you think about endometriosis, it's a type of ama, and it can grow, and it has a network. And so when they're looking at illnesses and diseases like Alzheimer's, dementia, other things like that, and they go into the brain and they find that sticky substance there, well, that's what in Ayurveda they call ama. It's in the brain, and it's deteriorating the brain. And so they have medicines that they give you that clear that out of the brain and help restore you. They have all kinds of anti-aging things. You know, one of the things that the royalty, both in India and in China, wanted to do was live forever, right? They have searched and searched and searched for the way to live forever. And as a result of that, they gave birth to rejuvenation processes that can help you maintain your youthfulness in your organs, in your mind, and just in muscle mass, everything. So it's a really fascinating part of Ayurveda and traditional Chinese medicine. And aphrodisiac therapy. You'll notice that comes after geriatrics and rejuvenation. I'm just saying. So it deals with sexual health and fertility. An example of a difference is, let's say a woman has a baby, right? The way they handle both the birth and the postnatal care is very, very different when it's done traditionally. So they do not breastfeed for 3 days after the baby is born, whereas here they want you to latch immediately. They feel like the initial colostrum is kind of sort of like not the nutritive that we think it is, that after 3 days the true colostrum comes in and it's really, really beneficial to the baby. They also will take a little piece of the mother's fecal matter and feed it to the baby to populate its gut with beneficial bacteria. So they give the baby 3 days to develop its digestive system before they start feeding it. They also do a massage where they clean the entire lymph system of the baby right after it's born. So they do they get a hold of that woman's uterus through massage, and they clean and expel her lymph system, they expel her uterus. So it's a much different kind of experience. And so, yeah, it's really, really fascinating. And I'm not saying it's better or it's worse, I'm just showing the contrast and the difference of approach that is used. So they have a whole different way of doing things. All right, treatment techniques. this is where it's also different, but we are going to find there are a lot of similarities as well. Okay, so food. Western society is catching up with the idea that you really are what you eat, and that food can create or reverse disease. In the first book I wrote, I did a lot of research where I studied how genes can be turned on and off for breast cancer with food, because that's the first book was about keeping your breast healthy. And so I thought that was fascinating. There's so much published on how, yeah, you come in with your genes, you sure do, but what you eat and how you live and how you feel can flip those genes on and off. It's amazing. So food, sleep, and awareness of choices. These are the 3 pillars of life of Ayurveda. Diet is always at the core of Ayurveda. It is first and foremost in importance. Quality sleep and management of the mind and desires. Yeah, that one's the hardest one. It's easier to manage your food and your sleep than it is to manage your mind and your desires, because they'll trot away at a moment's notice and you'll find you're where you were and where you don't want to be, you know, days at a time. All right, so purgation therapy. So this was one of the surprises we had in Rishikesh. Woo, yeah. So they clean you out, anus to mouth. I mean, some of the things they do, they give you herbals that cause you to throw up. And the herbals are usually suspended in a ghee formula so that you don't burn the throat, you know, because anytime you throw up, there's a lot of acid on the stomach. So they mitigate that with herbals. And then they also do enemas, or bastis as they're called in Ayurveda. So from stem to stern, you know, you get cleaned out. So that's purgation. Blood cleansing. Leech therapy, once the Europeans got a hold of it, really became something dangerous to everybody's health. They bled people and bled them and literally bled them to death, which is not the proper way. I watched them do leech therapy in that Ayurvedic hospital. And it's really good for pitta diseases in which there's too much heat in the body. And they make just a little cut and they attach a particular type of leech. Not all leeches can be used. And they let the leech remove the blood, then they take the leech, they clean the leech of the blood, and that leech is not used again for, you know, anywhere between 3 and 7 days, so that it can retain its health, and then it's used again. And it's really not fearsome looking. They're just little cuts and they put little leeches there, and we may get to have that very enjoyable experience when we're there in India. We missed out on that one in the short panchakarma we did. But in the US, what I do when I'm working with people who have too much pitta and they're showing a lot of pitta symptoms is I recommend to them that they go and donate blood. So that's another way to do the same thing. When you donate blood, it calms the pitta and helps reset the body. And there's, like they say, there's an 88% less chance of having a heart attack if you're a regular blood donor. So all of the different benefits of giving that blood away have become known also in the West. And if you go out and you read about doing blood donation, you'll see there are multiple benefits to doing that. So that's a different way to do it. It's not quite as creepy as the leeches, right?
That's what we do with acupuncture, you know, bleed
Yeah.
PC9 and squeeze out 2 or 3 drops to clear heat out of the blood.
Yeah, to clear heat.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
works great to lower blood pressure and
It's
all
amazing.
kinds of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and
it is.
cupping with, you know,
Yeah.
you do the cupping and you do a little cut. You
Yeah.
put the cup
Draw
on
that
it, draw
blood.
out that blood. Mhm.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it's cool stuff. So traditional Chinese medicine and Ayurveda, they cross in a lot of different ways, although it's definitely
So do we know what causes the blood to heat?
wrong living.
Yeah.
Yeah, not
Stress,
eating,
food.
stress, food, not sleeping the right way. Certain medications will create a lot of heat in the body. Anger, living in a hot climate and not knowing how to cool yourself off. All of these different things can increase heat in the blood.
Makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And you know, if you tend to get a lot of rashes, if you're always hot, if you get irritable really fast, if you have constipation, just nightmares are a real good indication that you have way too much pitta, that the heat in the blood is way too high. Yeah, so.
For both of you.
Interesting.
So, and of course they use herbs, and we talked a little bit about herbs include, you know, cow dung and human and cow, and they use goat and horse urine. I mean, it's pretty incredible. And one of the things that they do, who here has heard of alchemy? The idea of alchemy. Well, they use alchemical processes where they use gold, silver, mercury. They use all of the metals and they purify it sometimes 200 times through heat, and they put it with other herbs that they use. And these are for advanced diseases. They're called basmas. They're rarely ever used in just general conditions, but for things that are like lethal diseases and things like that, they use the basmas. But those can only be used in India. They are not legal in the United States. And you would want to make sure that you're going to a very good hospital with well-trained Ayurvedic doctors to use those types of things. But so those are also considered herbs. They work with metals that they purify hundreds of times sometimes. And then they combine it with other herbal things to help overcome different diseases. Massage. The way they do massage is so different. Oh my gosh. I went to India the first time on my own, and I went to Amritsar, and I booked a massage. And so I was thinking, oh, this is gonna be like a massage, right? I'm getting a massage in India. So the first thing the very young and beautiful, strong Indian woman said to me was, take off your clothes. And so I'm looking around for my sheet. Lo and behold, there is no sheet. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna power through this. So, you know, you get undressed and she's looking me up and down, and I'm like, oh, this is so awkward. And then you get up on this beautiful table that's made of the most gorgeous wood, and I can't remember now what the wood is that they use, but it's so beautiful. So I get up on the table, and the next thing I know, she like catapults over, and she's on the table with me, crouching down. Then she got a hold of my boobs. Oh! I thought I was going to just cry. What they do there, when you get done, there is no such thing as density in your breast. They break it up. And you're just laying there with tears streaming down your face. And you think, okay, well, I've gone through the worst of it now. Oh no, wait till they get to your groin. And they are fearless in the work that they do. So I told my travel agent after I got back, I said, you really got to tell Americans. It is so different. But when they get done with you, they have completely cleansed the lymph system. Yeah, it's a whole different way of doing massage. And we got some of those in Rishikesh too. So, but typically they only pair women with women and men with men. They don't typically cross over like we do here. But yeah, massage is a whole different thing. And with some massages, they use something that's called a bola. So they have heated herbs that they put into cheesecloth or some kind of cotton, and they tie it up, and then they begin to go all up and down the body with the herbs. That's really nice. It smells wonderful. And then they do things like they make some of them make little chickpea things. Kevin, I got to experiment on him when I first came back from my training. So we did chickpea eyeball things, and then I poured ghee in his eyes, and he was looking like this.
Sounds like
But that's a treatment. That's a treatment for weak eyesight, or eyes that are too pitta, too red. And then we experimented with using goggles. That didn't go very well. They kind of leaked out everywhere.
You put the ghee in
You put the ghee in the eyes.
and the chickpea
Well, the chickpea you use to make,
around.
yeah, to go all the way around.
Oh, and you put the ghee butter right in the
Yeah,
eyes.
right in the eyes. But you have to make sure it doesn't have any salt in it, right?
Oh.
Don't get
Okay.
salted
We have
ghee.
salted.
Yeah, no, do not use the one with salt.
Wow, that's
Okay.
interesting.
Yeah.
For red eyes and
For,
any eye issues?
yeah, it helps strengthens the vision, and we did it for, I don't know. Kevin was always ready for me to do it,
Yeah.
but we did it like 5 or 6 times, right,
Mhm.
sweetheart?
Once a day, or, I mean.
Well,
every other
I
day?
think we did it once a week
Oh,
for
okay.
5 or 6 times.
And
Yeah,
what-
and
what
I
did
mean,
you
you can
notice?
open your eyes, and you only want it warm, and they're yeah,
It was
you
very
only want it.
soothing.
How long did you leave it there?
Did it improve
Probably-
your eyesight?
Well, I can tell you that my eyesight is still at age 60, 20/20.
Yeah, but we
Wow.
don't know for sure if that's
Yeah.
due to genetics, but we'll take the credit.
We'll
We'll
take
take
the
the
credit.
credit.
Why not?
But no, we didn't do it enough, I don't think, for that to be the reason. But it did help that he gets a lot of eye fatigue because he's light-eyed and he's in front of the computer all day long. But yeah, I mean, you open your eyes and you just roll it around and it helps. But I don't recommend doing it unless, you know what you're doing for sure, because you don't want to make any mistakes. And the oil needs to be just warm, not hot. And so I had a special thing that I used, and I put it, I had a little candle that I put under it, but I'd gone through training, and as a part of my training when I went to Miami, and we were doing some hands-on stuff. So they do lots of things with massage. Nose therapy. The quickest route to administer medicines to get it to the brain is through the nose.
Really?
So they use a lot of different herbal preparations. It's called nasiam that you put in the nose. Kevin has nose drops that he uses almost every day because he has so much trouble with swollen sinuses.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what though, it is the foulest aftertaste you can imagine. You just have to, when you work with herbs, you have to learn not to let the taste of anything bother you. You have to be kind of staunch, because I did a lot of Chinese herbals before I started working in Ayurveda, and I mean, some of those things taste like feet. I mean,
Yeah,
just,
not good.
oh, they don't taste good. So you're not in it for the taste or the aftertaste. You're in it for the health of it. But so when they're working with brain issues, vata issues, where there's too much air in the body, they often use nose therapy. And then sweat therapy. And of course, we do that here, right? We have saunas, wet and dry saunas.
Or in Texas.
Yeah.
You
Just
just
go
go
out your
outside,
front door, yeah.
attics. Yeah.
But they use a lot of different special herbs, and they use a lot of oils. And in Ayurveda, when you heat the body, you should not heat the brain. So when you step into their sweat boxes, your head is out. And so they do a lot of steaming and things like that. But they believe that you shouldn't heat the brain. So in the West, Ayurveda trained practitioners cannot diagnose or treat disease. They can, however, work with diet and suggest herbs and practices for healing as per Ayurveda training. Many of these services have some similar counterparts in the American culture, albeit with the omission of understanding the herb or the overall approach itself to Ayurveda. But if you work with someone who's trained in Ayurveda, even though, we can't say, I felt your pulse and this is what you have. I looked at your tongue, this is what you have. Just you can make general assumptions about diet and things like that. And I have a pretty extensive Ayurvedic test that I administer before people come to see me. Sometimes that's enough to keep people from coming in. Well, can we do else. What else do you do there, Lola? But yeah, so, you know, you can help people even if they're in the midst of doing things like chemotherapy and things like that. I had a woman come in, she couldn't eat anything. She's on a trial drug. She has cancer in the spleen and in the liver. And so she couldn't eat anything. She couldn't hold anything down. It was burning her up. And so I put her on a diet that was rich in mucilage, oatmeal, okra, all of the things that are very cooling and very calming. And she told me, she said, within a week, I couldn't believe the difference it made. So your food, as it hits the gut, does all kinds of things in the system. And in Ayurveda, it's actually said that it takes up to 30 days for the nutritive juice, the rasa, in the food to complete its work in your system. So what you ate 30 days ago is still affecting you today.
Cool.
Isn't that interesting?
Does that include pizza?
It includes
I'm sure let my husband
Yes,
know
it
that.
does.
It's not out of his system in 2 days. 30 days ago, baby.
The half-life of pizza.
That's funny. All right, so there's an 8-point diagnosis in Ayurveda. So like if you go to India, this is how they would do their diagnostic system. In India, a clinical examination consists of 8-point diagnosis: pulse, pulse diagnosis, urine, stool, tongue, voice and body sound, eye, skin, and total body appearance examinations, including examination of the digestive system and the patient's physical strength. In the US, practitioners can visually look at clients and use questionnaires and other tools to determine how to best advise clients, to then make suggestions based on their training. They cannot, however, claim to diagnose or treat unless they are a licensed medical professional. So exercise in the form of yoga and meditation is used as a part of Ayurvedic treatment. And then Panchakarma therapy, which is what Kevin and I are going to go do for 21 days. This is one of the key foundations of the Ayurvedic approach, an all-natural and holistic technique that rejuvenates and purifies the body through a series of 5 major therapies that cleanse the system and rid it of toxins and waste materials that have accumulated in the body over time. Treatment time is 21 to 28 days, depending on the individual's constitution and requirements. Panchakarma has a long-lasting impact on restoring health to both the body and the mind. You have to be healthy to undergo Panchakarma. You can't do Panchakarma if you're sick. Other treatments, there are so many other different kinds of treatments, but I've covered kind of the main ideas here. Okay, the 3 doshas. So Ayurveda says we're all individual. Lifestyle and treatment of health issues differs for each of us. So what are the doshas? They're body types. Doshas are body types. Each body type has an ideal diet, sleep requirement, sexual habit, and lifestyle considerations. Yes, Ayurveda gets into bed with you and says, if you're Vata, sex once a month. If you're Pitta, sex once a week. If you are Kapha, oh, you're in the money. And that's because of the nervous system, especially for men. The nervous system is hit really hard during sexual intercourse because nature takes the best from each of us, right? So the Vata nervous system is the most sensitive and the most easily disturbed. Pitta is second in line, and then Kapha, they're like, oh, you'll see, they are the stable ones. Each of us have a dominant dosha, but also have some amount of all 3 doshas in varying degrees. So Vata is composed of space and air. Vata is the subtle energy associated with movement, breathing, blinking, muscle and tissue movement, pulsation of the heart, and all movements in the cytoplasm and cell membranes. Pitta is composed of fire and water. Pitta expresses as the body's metabolic system, digestion, absorption, assimilation, nutrition, metabolism, and body temperature. And kapha is the energy that forms the body's structure, bones, muscles, tendons, and provides the glue that holds the cells together. Kapha is earth and water. So vata people are thin, fast-moving, alert, restless, and talkative. That's if they're in balance. Pitta is intense, goal-oriented, driven, and leaders. Kapha people are thoughtful, slower moving, loyal, and steady. Okay, so vata predominance. Like the bumblebee, vata types are always in motion. They have a quick mind, flexibility, and creativity. Mentally, they grasp concerns quickly, but then forget just as quickly. Easily fatigued, they may have less willpower, less confidence, less boldness, and tolerance for fluctuation than other types, and may often feel ungrounded. Earns and spends money quickly, and may be poor planners. Now, of course, like I said, everybody has some amount of all of the other doshas in their constitution. But if you're vata, you may really resonate with this. Vata people are very quick moving. They love to talk. They're full of ideas. They're what Kevin would call like an idea rat. You know, they're just, they're shooting it at you all the time. They're always thinking, very lively. When in balance, they may become fearful, nervous, and anxious. Parkinson's, for example, is considered a vata condition. So, because the air in the body is unbalanced. So, they have a variable appetite and digestion. Their constitution is balanced by warmed, cooked foods and sweet, sour, and salty taste. The thing about your dosha is it likes to increase itself. It doesn't like to stay in balance. So it doesn't like the things that you're supposed to have to eat to keep it in balance a lot of times. So, you know, sometimes you'll feel like, well, but I don't like that. Well, it's because your dosha likes to increase itself. So it will push you over towards the things that may not be in your best interest to have. So, vata needs but resist routine. They need to be up by 6 a.m. Like I said, they get in your bed in more ways than one. In bed by 10 p.m. They need more rest than the other types, although they don't like that. They don't want to go to bed. They want to stay up. They want to keep doing things. They want to keep having fun. They need to find a calm environment to help their nervous systems. They need to avoid overstimulation, and they need to stay warm. They tend to get cold quite easily. Pitta predominance. Like the tiger, Pitta types are sharp and alert. They lounge, then attack. They have warm bodies, penetrating ideas, and sharp intelligence. Mentally, they're alert with good powers of comprehension and a fairly good memory. They're leaders and planners who seek material prosperity, and they like to exhibit wealth and possessions. When in balance, they are easily agitated and aggressive and tend towards hate, anger, and jealousy, and can become very short-tempered. They have a strong metabolism, good digestion, and strong appetites. Their constitution is balanced by sweet, bitter, and astringent taste. You'll find that a lot of people, what is that series we're watching about Uber now? Can you remember what that's called? The guy who anyhow, it's out on Netflix, and yeah, and he's Pitta. That is what Pitta out of balance looks like.
In the extreme, right?
Yeah, in the extreme. Very driven, very motivated, very aggressive, very, you know. But when it's in balance, you know, they're initiators. They keep things moving. They're innovative. They're grounded. But when fire will burn down everything it touches when it runs out of control. Right, so that's what too much pitta is. So they need to watch for anger and impatience. They need to be up by 5:30 a.m. and bed by 10. That's common for everyone. Need to find calm environments to help their nervous systems. They need to slow down, and they need to stay cool in more ways than one. In both Chinese medicine and in Ayurveda, there are time slots allotted to the day, which are considered vata times of day pitta times a day and kapha times a day. And so a lot of the recommendations about things center around these times during the day. All right, kapha. Like the elephant, kapha types have strength, endurance, and stamina. They tend to have sweet, loving dispositions and to be stable and grounded. Slower to comprehend than vata or pitta. Once they learn something, they remember it forever. So it's like they have the memory of an elephant, right? Once they know something, they know it forever. Whereas the other two types, vata will forget it quickly, pitta will forget it eventually. They enjoy excellent long-term memories. They're often good money managers and are able to earn and hold on to savings. A lot of people who are kapha in nature make really, really good workers. They're stable. They like coming to work. They enjoy making money. They're calm. They calm people down, so they're nice to be around. When out of balance, they may experience greed, envy, attachment, and possessiveness or lethargy. They gain weight easily and have a slow metabolism and shun exercise. Their constitution is balanced by bitter, astringent, and pungent taste. And of course, what they like is the really sweet, yummy stuff that tastes so good, that has so much fat in it. Yum, yum. So, they need to watch for sluggishness and lethargy. They need to be up by 4:30 a.m. in bed by 10. And no, they need to, I need to change this. This is not a true statement. They need to find exciting environments to help wake up their nervous system, not calm it down. They need to speed up, and they need to stay neither cold or hot, but kind of temperate. So for someone who's kapha, if you're vata, any exercise will make you lose weight. If you're pitta, exercise will help you lose weight. If you're kapha, you have to work so hard to lose weight because you tend to have a stronger, bigger bone structure, and you tend to hold on to weight. It's harder for you to lose weight than it is for the other two types when everything is in balance. Of course, when the doshas go out of balance, it's hard to tell if you're pitta or kapha or vata, because once the doshas swing out of balance, you're not true to your constitutional type anymore, and you can begin to get pitta or kapha or vata diseases as a result of that. It's when in Ayurveda they say it's when the dosha pushes out of its container. All right. So vata, light, thin build, dry skin, thin hair, nervous and anxious, irregular hunger, cannot tolerate cold weather, and they sleep very little. If you left it up to them, they wouldn't sleep at all. More susceptible to diseases involving the air principles such as emphysema, pneumonia, and arthritis. Other common disorders include flatulence, tics, twitches, aching, joints, dry skin and hair, nerve disorders, constipation, and mental confusion. Pitta, medium build, freckled skin, medium hair, gets angry fast, temperamental, sharp hunger, cannot tolerate hot weather, sleeps moderately. Diseases involving the fire principles such as fevers, inflammatory diseases, and jaundice, skin rashes, burning sensation, ulceration, inflammation, or irritations such as conjunctivitis, colitis, or sore throats. Sunburn, poison ivy, and prickly heat are common. And then kapha, heavy build, oily and smooth skin, thick hair, calm mind, moderate hunger, cannot tolerate hot weather, and oversleeps. More likely to have diseases connected to the water principle, such as flu, sinus congestion, and other diseases involving mucus. Diabetes, water retention, weight control, and headaches are also common. So, hey, baby, what's your dosha? Which of these three types have been like most of your life, not just recently? Because we're born with a dosha. Our dosha stays the same throughout our life, but it can become what they call out of balance. And when it becomes out of balance, it gets to be hard to tell what your original dosha was. So when you look at who you've been overall all your life, you're going to have a better understanding. There are a million different tests out there that you can go online and take about your dosha, but you will find that you get conflicting results. So But they're fun to do. Every time I find a test, I take it. I'm a test taker. All right. It's important to remember that we all have some measure of each of the doshas within us. Some of us are equally divided into 2 doshas, however, with just a little bit of the third. However, we all tend to have a dominant dosha. In Ayurveda, diseases are considered a result of imbalanced doshas. Treatment is designed to bring you back into balance with your natural dosha. So every illness has a root source. And Ayurveda says treating the source, not the symptom, is the key to lasting health. So you want to dig down into it and find out, what's ailing you, really. Is it your lifestyle? Is it your diet? Is it your lack of getting out in community and in Ayurveda, connection with others? Seva, helping others is fundamental to thriving. Ayurveda approaches health from a whole life perspective. You start at the level of your basic constitution, work from the knowledge of that constitution about what is right for you, and health ensues. Going against that results in illness and disease, and balance must be restored. Ayurveda also understands that no 2 people are alike, and each person must be considered individually, and that treatments and recommendations must be based on who you are and how you live. One size does not fit all. Lastly, the root cause of the imbalance must be discovered and treated. Is it diet? Is it lifestyle? Find it, fix it, and live in health. That's the Ayurvedic way. So, in summary, Seva purifies our karma. Knowledge purifies the intellect. Music purifies the emotions. Charity purifies money that you earn. Prayer purifies the heart. Meditation purifies the soul. Ayurveda, yoga, pranayama, and exercise purify the body. Gurudev Sri Sri Ravi Shankar is the one who's responsible for that quote. This quote says it all. Good health is the result of a multi-pronged approach that is a lifestyle. It's not just one thing, it is all things. It's what we do day in, day out. It's in how we act, what we think, how we care for and what we do for others, and how we care for and what we do for ourselves. Ayurveda is the science of how to live a long and healthy life. So, I hope I haven't overwhelmed you with too much.
No, that was good. Very interesting.
Yeah. Does anyone have any questions? No, it's going to take a while to digest all of this, right? So we have recorded it live, and we think we'll be able to put it out on YouTube. So if you have the interest in the energy, you can go back out there and look at it again and take notes. I know it's a lot of information, but this really is the essence of what it is, truly. In a nutshell, this is the essence of what Ayurveda does, how it works in the world, and how it can help you. So thank you, so much for coming out. Sarah, thank you for having Infinity Float invite me out here.
Absolutely.
And of course, thank you, Tammy. She's not in here. For setting it all up.
Thank you.
So where do we find you on Facebook?
The Health Hut.
Okay.
Yeah, we are the Health Hut. You had a
I
question?
have a question. So, with Ayurveda being just a limitless way of information, knowledge, how to live, how we should be living, where do you start with somebody when they come and see you?
With small steps. We start with, can you drink your water without ice in it? And if the answer is no, probably it's going to be a really difficult system for you to implement. But so I start with diet. That's where I always start. We assess what your dosha is, and then we start with diet. And if you're on, medications and things like that are interfering with your digestion, we work with that to get your digestion in place where you can eat good food, healthy food. And we talk about food preparation, food portions, what time to eat, and then as you're going out the door and your eyes are kind of going around like this, I say just start where you can. You know, just start with something small. Add some of these things that are good for your dosha into your diet. Take out some of the things that aren't. And just start there. So really, it's with baby steps. You know, when people come into me and they're really ill, we have to do different things than when people come in and, you know, they're not ill. They just don't feel like, you know, they're maximizing their life, and they want to come in and kind of maximize their life and their fitness and their, you know, mental state. A lot of people come in because they feel dull. They feel like they're not sharp anymore. And so changing your diet can change, you know, how you think, the clarity of your mind. So we just start wherever we need to start, but with baby steps, because it is overwhelming. And, you know, we like what we like, right? And it's hard to throw that stuff out of the pantry. It's hard to change. That's the first thing we have to recognize. I tell people it takes me 2 years to change anything. And I'm quite serious about that. I have to think about it, and I have to think about it some more, and I have to research it, and I have to think about why I'm not going to do it.
Benefits, huh?
Then I have to go back to why I need to do it, and finally, eventually, I will get around to doing it. But really and truly, it takes me about 2 years to initiate something that is a substantial change. It's hard.
But then when you commit to it,
When I commit to it, I am on it all the way through. I don't back down. No. But yeah. So with small changes. Thank you for asking the
So do you
question.
do any cooking schools or?
I haven't. People do love food, and
Good.
you know, we've talked about doing some Ayurvedic cooking classes at the studio, but I would have to kind of investigate what the health requirements are around it. And I think you can hold small cooking classes without having to have a proper kitchen. You know, I've talked to Lisa at the co-op
Natural
down
living.
there, and she has a kitchen that is everything it should be, and she does run it out by the hour. So, you know, it's something that I've considered. But yeah, herbs. Ayurveda uses all kinds of herbs in the food to help it digest. There are herbs that are particular to your dosha. So, you know, that would be a really fun class to do. Yeah.
I have one more question. I
Yes,
have a friend that's maybe 70 and he's losing his eyesight
Mm-hmm.
with Ayurveda. I think it's called glaucoma,
Mm-hmm.
where all medical just say, you know, it's impossible.
Well, with glaucoma, what Ayurveda can do is stop its progression. It cannot reverse
Yeah, it's
the
pretty
loss
bad.
of eyesight.
Pretty bad, it's almost
Yeah.
gone.
No, it cannot reverse, but it can stop but if he's already, you know, on the verge of losing his sight, I don't know how much good it would do him to try to do an
Like he's
Ayurvedic
Done
protocol.
the cells in the eyes for $20,000, whatever.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but I mean, he could try it, and there are Western herbs that work with, you know, vision and eyesight as well. Dr. Christopher, if you're into Western herbalism, and of course he took a lot of his stuff from Europe and other places, Dr. Christopher. He's passed now. I've got his encyclopedia of herbs, but his herbs are inexpensive, and they're all local. They're all local to the U.S. And you know, you can go out and research those things. I've used a lot of his herbs for a lot of different conditions as well, and I love his book. He was a really cool man.